Good morning. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Sunday. I hope everybody's doing well. I am on my phone again. On the phone again. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. Come on in. Welcome. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. That is all free. Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome in. Come on in. Tell me where you're from. What you're doing if you got your coffee this morning. I wanted to talk a few minutes on Krista Pike. I think I feel like doing a couple of live shows today. I just do. I don't know. Maybe I got some good sleep last night. Hey, show poodles. Hello. Good morning. Good morning to you, honey. I'm on my phone, so I can't bring up your beautiful baby, but I see it in the photos. I do. Hey, Pam. Good morning. Happy Sunday to you. From the Ring of Fire, Gulf Coast. From the Ring of Fire. Hey, Raymond, good morning. Yeah, you're finally catching me. I hope you're doing good. Hope everything's going good with the job, honey. Got to make that moolah. Hey, Deanna, good morning. Thank you for being here. Welcome in, everybody. Yeah, Krista Pike's time is ticking, tick tock, tick tock. So I wanted to cover her this morning. I did cover her, back, I don't know, a year ago or so. And I wanted to, update on that and talk about this. Doing great, just tired. Well, stay awake, Raymond. Stay awake for a little bit. We miss you. We miss you over here. Over here. Oh, you have more of the your other dog? You're going to change a picture soon. Okay. Hey, Seth. Good morning. Good morning. That man never sleeps. That man never sleeps. I'm just saying. And I couldn't sleep either. I'm telling you. I don't blame you, Seth. How many pots of coffee are you already on? Or do we just need to count? I don't know. But I'm feeling my oldies this morning. I'm feeling all of it that I think I might do a couple of lives today, actually. I just might. So, yeah, we're going to talk about Krista Pike right now. You know, we covered her. And I know sometimes I slack on it, but we need to do some updates. There's been a little hearing or trial or whatever you want to call it going on about her and her little execution coming up, which is coming soon. Been a hearing about her execution we're talking about Krista Gail Pike this morning. She should, or let me rephrase, she is scheduled to be put to death later next month. She's the youngest, if y'all don't know, the youngest woman on death row in Tennessee. Surprises me. Some people even in the law enforcement so long don't even know that. That's kind of weird to me, but anyway, okay. But if you don't know this case or who she is, Krista Pike is just here's a little update. Okay, she was born March 10th, 1976. In West Virginia. It is a very interesting case. Not for the victim, but this is going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. It's been going on for decades. She became involved in one of Tennessee's most notorious murder cases. She was part of unaliving, killing, whatever you want to call it here. I'm with Betty on this. We don't need to try to hide and desanitize this stuff. It is what it is. But she murdered Colleen Slimmer, who was a student at Job Corps there in Knoxville, Tennessee. Colleen was 19 years old at the time. And nice person, huh? Yeah, she was not. Absolutely was not. Colleen was 19 years old at the time, and through all records and research, Krista believed Colleen was interested in her boyfriend. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? Good morning, Rogue. Thank you for being here. Hello, hello. Y'all come on in and say hi. So, yeah, she was jealous. Jelly beans. I hate the jealous thing, but I guess that was a thing back then. Been there, done that. Can't lie. But not to this extent, honey. Nothing is worth this extent. And no man, no boy, no whatever. But Chris's boyfriend was Daryl Shipp. And he was the boyfriend. And yes, jealousy played. It was a big motive, they said. Hey, Michael. Hello. Yeah, very, very shaky. Very shaky. So on January 11th, 1995, Krista allegedly told another student she intended to kill Colleen. That's what's been told. And that day she just felt mean. She just felt plain mean, right? Later in that statement, it became a very part of this case, a huge part. And so on January 12th, 1995, Krista Pike, her boyfriend, to Daryl Shipp, and this girl named Shadala Peterson, along with Colleen, unbeknownst to Colleen, was, they left Job Corps, and I guess they were going to mend fences or whatever, and they walked to this isolated place. And it was near the University of Tennessee, so, Colleen, again, she didn't have a clue. She didn't have a clue what her fate was fixing to give her. She was lured there under false pretenses, okay? And they made her think, and this goes on every day, and it's so sad. They was making her think they were friends. They were waving the, white flag, hey, I'm sorry, let's just do this, that, and the other. Anyway, under false pretenses, and they wanted to make peace, right? Well, they were far from making peace. They were far from making peace. They horribly, all of them, they horribly prolonged this torture and attack, and it lasted about 30 minutes where they tortured Colleen. It's sad. There was evidence proven. There was evidence that got showed. And, this may be a trigger warning to some. Take care of yourself and your hearts. I understand that. This is definitely not a show for anybody under 18. Definitely not. But, this has been out there. It's horrific. It showed Colleen was beaten. She was tortured. And she was slashed all over, right? I mean, anybody who could stand there and do that or be a part of that, I mean, just imagine the ones that did see unbeknownst to what was going on to Perez Hilton. I wish I would have never clicked on that link, because I just thought, hey, I was being told that he barricaded himself. Well, barricaded yourself can mean a lot of things, but never in my wildest dreams did I think I was going to be able to see something like that, nor did I ever want to. Some things you cannot unsee. So just imagine, that's just an example. If you saw, just imagine the other two and Krista standing there, and there's proof overcalling this 19-year-old girl, continuously torturing her, slashing her over and over, and a lot more. They put a pentagram, they carved a pentagram in her chest. Hey, Judy, good morning. Thank you all for being here. And at first, the news and the law thought it was just a satanic thing. They wasn't sure. But Krista Pike, Krista's evil. Evil at that young age. Krista was evil. I'm sorry. And I don't want to put any more stress on her mom. Her poor mom had, she couldn't help this. Her mom is still alive, and as far as I know, and unfortunately, this is horrible all the way around. There's no winners. But at first, they thought it was satanic. But Krista, this evil Krista girl, in my opinion, being as evil as she was, beyond evil, she took a fragment of Colleen's skull, okay? Just imagine that. She took her trophy. She kept that piece of her with her at school and as a trophy. Yeah, just pure evil. Pure evil, Judy. She was so proud of herself. She was proud of her trophy. She was proud of what she did. She bragged about it. She bragged about it to other students. Other people would be like trying to hide that, be trying not to get caught, be trying all the things. Not Krista. She didn't care one iota, in my opinion. So people began to talk and say, what she had, what was going on. And 2 days later, police arrested Krista Pike. They arrested her because of the witnesses and what they reported. And, not only did she admit it, she bragged about it. She bragged about what she did to Colleen. She had no remorse, in my opinion. And she described all the details. She showed her trophy. People were mortified. I still can't wrap my mind around it. I just can't. Later on, Krista waived her rights, her Miranda rights, and she gave a police statement. And then, there was a trial, and she was charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit, and, commit those charges in first degree. And the trial took place right there in Knox County in Knoxville, Tennessee in 1996. Okay? So prosecutors, they relived that story. The families relived that story. Her mom had to go through that story. But prosecutors relied heavily, very heavily, on all the witness testimonies. And Krista Pike, she gave her very own statements. They had that. They had her confession that she gave to the police. And they also, though, amongst all of that, had physical evidence. They had physical evidence. Then on March 22nd, 1996, the jury, they did indeed find Krista guilty. Okay. And I strongly believe, as they should have, they found her guilty. And 8 days later, on March 30th, she was sentenced to death. It didn't take long. She was sentenced to death. She was very young, but she was sentenced to death for the first-degree murder, and she also got added 25 years to her sentence for conspiracy. The Tennessee Supreme Court was upheld, because no matter if you're her or anybody else, you're going to do all the things to appeal. You're going to go through all those things. And it's your right, and you should. But the Tennessee Supreme Court upheld both convictions. They upheld the death sentence she got. They said the jury got it right. The people got it right. Now, her boyfriend, who was also there and played a part in this, he got first-degree murder and conspiracy charges. But they sentenced him to life in prison. So, there was a lot of controversy on that. Sorry, I'm taking a drink of my coffee. And they gave him with the possibility of parole, if I remember it correctly. Which, hey, Bama. Hello. Bama Cat, thank you for being here. But I don't, in my opinion, I just don't think he should be allowed parole, but whatever. But, because at the time they gave it to him, the reason they gave that to him, because he was 17 years old. Okay, he was 17. And then there was Shadala Peterson. I might be saying her name wrong, but so she agreed to testify. She ratted everybody out. She told everything. Honey, she wasn't about to go down with it. She pleaded guilty to the accessory after the fact. And she was for the prosecutors. She testified to everything against those two. So she got no prison at all. She got probation. And at that time, and it's, people still talk about it, because of all the different sentences, that caused a uproar and a ruckus and a lot of controversy in this case for many, many decades. It's still happening. It's still causing it. And of course, like I said, there was appeals. All of these years, Krista Pike, her attorneys, I should say, argued that the jury never had heard the evidence about her background. At this point, did anybody really give a damn about her background? The only people out there that seemed, in my opinion, to give a damn was that she was so young. And yes, although that's sad, well, let me just stay on track, okay? Y'all know where I'm going, and this whole world is divided over this. You can have your own thoughts and opinions. You can do your own research. I'm not trying to sway anybody one way or another. I'm just telling you, and then we're going to get into what's happened this week with this. I've never done this before. Never, ever, ever, ever. But I'm even thinking myself, if this takes place in September, I'm even thinking myself of going there. I'm just thinking of being there, whether it be outside or whatever. I'm seriously thinking about it. Raymond said I'm okay. Am I buffering? Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, y'all might have to refresh. You might have to refresh. It was something I accidentally did a while ago. Okay, hold on, Raymond. Hold on. What about now? You hear me now? Yeah, it was buffering. Okay, thank you, Bama Cat. Yeah, when I'm sorry, I touched the screen and I don't know what part. I apologize for that. I'm going to try not to touch the screen when I'm on my phone. I apologize. If it buffers like that, y'all just need to refresh or go out and come back in. I really apologize. What I was saying, I will go back over it, is because her attorneys should do everything that they could, that is correct, but they tried to say that they didn't hear the evidence, that she was the critical evidence that she had abuse in her childhood, she had PTSD, she had SA, she had brain damage from fetal alcohol syndrome and all those things, and she was bipolar, right? Well, that's their job, but here's the thing. She didn't have too much PTSD when all that was going on, when what she was doing, torturing Colleen, she didn't have it at that point, right? Um, so I can't in my right mind feel sorry for her. I don't personally. I have a hard time anybody hurting anybody like that purposely. You know, I mean, sure, defend yourself, defend your family at all cost, defend your animals, defend your home, you know, defend somebody if, that's what you need to do, even if you're out in public. But to torture and do this to somebody else and purposely do these things to somebody else. No, I don't stand with that. I don't stand with that. So, but her attorneys fought. They fought hard, and they tried to give everything about how these things failed because of all of that, blah, 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 blah. I'll just say no excuse. But except Christina, or not Christina, except Krista, you know, she was bragging about it at first, remember? So none of that worked. In my opinion, you know, Krista was, and she grew into a beautiful young lady. Beauty don't matter. It's what's in your heart. She had the blackest of black, darkest evil hearts I have ever seen. She's very evil. I don't think she's capable of remorse. Maybe she is. I don't know. I just hope she gets it right with whoever her higher power is. But she knew on that day, in my opinion, exactly what she was doing. But going forward, let's fast forward to 2001. Krista was already on death row. She was already on death row, right? Most people learn their lessons, but she was involved in something else. She tried to murder somebody else. How that happens when you're on death row, I don't know, but she already, she tried to murder somebody else, and so she was convicted of that. Make it make sense. She tried to murder another inmate by strangulation, which I've always said that's very personal. So she got an additional 25 years tacked on to her sentence. I mean, hey, but what is it when you're on death row? You ain't got nothing to lose, right? You ain't got nothing to lose until it starts tick tock, and time starts counting down. Then you might getting to be a little bit worried, right? Now you want to do all the things. Now you want to be a child of God. Now you want to have remorse. Now you want to bring up your SA. Now you know, okay, let's get real. So the execution is scheduled for 2026, actually September 30th, 2026, just a few short weeks away. There's been a lot of talk about this in the news. And if this execution proceeds as planned, if it does, she'll be the first woman executed in Tennessee since 1820. That's also what has brought a lot of attention to this case. Otherwise, nobody would give a damn about her, in my opinion. That's just my thoughts. However, anything can happen. Anything can happen last minute. But there's still a lot of questions. Like, and I'll ask y'all, like, should age be considered when committing a crime at 18 years old? Or the death penalty? I used to never believe in the death penalty at all. At all. I've come to change my mind real quick. Yeah, Show Poodle, I kind of feel that way because here's the thing, in my opinion. You see all the time, all across the country, not even for as bad of crimes. They charge these 16, 15, 18, or 17-year-olds as adults. So what makes Krista any different? What makes her any different? Colleen lost her life at 19 years old, tragically, brutally. Her family had to live with a nightmare. They're still having to live with their daughter being gone that was brutally tortured and murdered. They still have to hear and go through all of this. This tragic, evil stuff that happened to their daughter, they've had to sit through trials and tribulations. Colleen didn't get a choice. Colleen didn't get to bring up anything in her childhood, if she had anything in her childhood. She didn't get to bring up her depression or PTSD, if she had it. But I feel like it wouldn't have mattered because her torturers would not have cared. They would have kept torturing her to death and then taking trophies and bragging because they were so happy. So this is not about guilt and it's not about innocence, okay? Krista was already proven guilty. So by now, it's just I'm not even going to say it's a trial. It's whatever's been going on in the last few weeks. I've been watching bits and pieces of it. But it's basically, it's how the execution should be carried out. Are y'all believing this? I didn't know people got a choice when they got in trouble, and especially with executions. So now this is what all the rigmarole is about. I think it's a waste of time and money. Maybe not. Maybe she'll get her wish. But it's just another debate, and it's right in the spotlight. It's right back in the news. Well, I have a feeling that until this is said and done, this is going to be in the news, period. But let me tell you what Krista and her attorneys want. Krista and her attorneys have all of a sudden decided, now that it's TikTok, that they want her to be hanged. They don't want lethal injection. Hell, I just say, you know, put me to sleep. Of course, I don't plan on ever being in that situation, but, you know, just fill up my veins and let me go to sleep. But she wants a hanging. Listen, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious what y'all say. Should a person have a choice in their method of execution? I mean, what do y'all think? And yeah, we keep her up in prison for years. Yeah, you know, she's got to still live out a long life, right? May not have been a great life, but she still got 3 hots in a cot. She still got to talk to her mama and her family, right? They should bring back old Sparky, yeah. But you know what? To be honest, I would not want that job. Oh my God, I would not want that job, to be inside those chambers or to make that decision. I just would not want that job. Just saying. But maybe they do have the right. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. But, at the same time, I'm sorry, Colleen, Colleen didn't get to choose how she died, right? She didn't have a choice. I don't think she wanted to die. She thought she was going with her friends. But she didn't get to choose. She had zero choice. She had no say. She had no attorneys. She had no appeals. Now they're saying lethal injection has not always worked. That's what they're saying. They're saying there's concern. I say put more medicine in the needle. Do what you got to do, honey. But they're saying lethal injection has not always worked, and there's concerns about pain and suffering. Are y'all serious? Pain and suffering? Why are they worried about pain and suffering for the perpetrators? I'm just wondering. But that's not my business, and that's why I will never have a job there, because no, no ma'am, no ham. But I'm allowed to have my thoughts and opinions. And really, I'm trying to be respectful. I really am trying to be respectful. Her mom's still alive. She still has family alive, and so does Colleen's family. And nobody here is winners. Nobody here's gonna win no matter what. But this all sounds crazy to me. Yeah, the victim suffered. Sure did. They didn't give them a easy hanging or a easy lethal injection or anything, right? A prisoner. She was a prisoner who committed this heinous, cruel crime. And she was issued the death penalty as well as she should have been. I didn't realize you had to be made happy and comfortable and have an easy time of anything. If so, what's the point in all of going to jail anyway if you commit crimes? And that's for any crime. But those are legal challenges. All of these they're looking into, they're taking into account. They want to have all of their I's dotted and their T's crossed. I can understand that. They don't want nothing coming back on them or nobody coming back on them. But see, many others believe the focus should remain on the victim and the sentence handed down by the court system decades and decades ago. But then you have the ones who oppose the death penalty. I fully, like I said, I fully understand that. I do understand that. You have the ones who are for the death penalty, no matter what. You have the ones that are opposed to it, but this is not just about one person. It's about law. It's about ethics and justice, and it's about whether a state can ever agree on a method of execution. Whether it's humane or inhumane. And in my opinion, I don't think anyone will ever in this lifetime agree on any of that. To me, the crime to this victim, to Colleen, was inhumane. Just saying. I agree, Bama Cat. If they're correct and they got the right person, and even if it's a parent, yep, they should go. I just want to remind everybody, please, and nobody's done anything wrong. I just want to remind you to please keep this discussion respectful. There'll be people watching on replay. I'm sure there'll be people that'll have something to say on all, good, bad, and ugly. Be respectful. We can all agree to disagree. There was a young woman named Colleen Slimmer who lost her life. Her family lost her at the hands of Krista. They watched as their daughter was tortured in the trial. They heard these things. They had to see these things and relive it over and over. So yes, that nightmare is going to continue for them and with them forever, ever. And yet, another family watched their daughter spend decades on death row, go through all this at a very young age. And so, again, I say there's zero winners in this. Zero winners. There's no winners. There won't be any winners. It's going to be a lot of loss, a lot of pain, and decades later, families are still having to relive all of this nightmare. And this case changed so many lives. And it forever will, in my opinion. Listen, hanging is not one of Tennessee's execution methods. It's just not. So this recent hearing a week or so ago, whenever they started it, was about if her plan, talking about Krista, her planned execution is constitutional or not. If it could cause unnecessary pain. Because they say Krista Pike has a physical and mental health condition. That's what they say. So a special judge was appointed to review these questions during this hearing. Listen, this just happened a few days ago in August 2026 as we speak. And as of right now, the execution date still remains September 30th, 2026. Will it go on? I don't know. Will there be a stop at the last minute, a reprieve? I don't know. But Tennessee has not changed the sentence to hanging. Tennessee's protocol uses lethal injection with they use phenobarbital is what they use. But Krista's attorneys still are challenging that protocol in court. Again, that's their job. But one important thing, Tennessee Supreme Court's, their order is that the prison warden has to notify Krista Pike by August 28th, 2026, how her execution will be done, what method. It'll be used, in the court. It was specifically in the court order talking about how it states the Tennessee Department of Correction will make that determination. They'll let her know by August 28th. So, in short, no decision has yet been made. I personally, I could be wrong. I don't think there will be no hanging. I think it will go on as planned. Might be wrong. But the legal fight is continuing. We haven't heard the last of this. We're not going to. Even when it's over, we're not going to. Since the time's getting closer, there's still a lot of questions that remain unanswered. There will always be a lot of questions remain unanswered. Raymond said, that's why I feel for the victim's family and friends. Absolutely. And again, there's no winners, no matter what happens. Even if she gets a hanging by chance, there's no winners in this. Long before there were court hearings and legal filings and appeals and all of this over execution and the methods and the this and that, there was a beautiful 19-year-old girl named Colleen. She was a daughter, a friend. She had her life cut short, taken from her brutally. And then, on the other hand, there was a 18-year-old at the same time who would spend her entire life, the rest of her life on death row. And here we are, 31 plus years talking about this later, and the whole country's divided. People are still divided. People think justice has been delayed. Some people think, mercy should be considered. Some people think the death penalty never should even be here or exist at all. But no matter what you think, no matter what you believe, I'm not asking you to choose a side. I'm just talking about this case. I talked about it before. I'm just telling you that nobody wins. Nobody. And when the cameras are turned off, when the news cameras are turned off, when the YouTube cameras are turned off, when the courtrooms are all empty, when YouTube comes to an end, when this story comes to an end, there's going to be two families left carrying this with them the rest of their lives. They're carrying a burden that will never go away and never, it don't matter what the outcome is or will be. Justice, mercy, punishment, forgiveness, all of that, it ain't going to matter, those conversations. It don't matter what will happen in the long run. After this ends, September 30th, if it does, and there's not a stay, no matter what happens, this will never be forgotten, nor should it. Colleen's life was lost. Lives were changed. First woman on Tennessee to be executed since the 1800s. So many things. So many unnecessary things. Pain. Pain that's not going to end. Not with a hanging, not with a trial, not with a lethal injection. Hell, not with an overdose of pain. Nothing. When the execution is over, whenever it happens, the pain and the hurt's still there. I'm just here to cover it, to try to speak with respect, and to never forget the victim, Colleen, or all the victims in any case, and Colleen's parents, as well as Krista's family. You know, they didn't have any doings with her going out doing what she did, or the choices she made. Protect your, yeah, it ruined 2 families. Protect your hearts. Protect each other. Be kind. Sometimes the hardest cases aren't the ones that leave us without answers. They're not. They're just the ones that force us to ask questions, to bring them to the forefront. We may not all agree on it, and that's okay. That's okay. But they're stories that need to be told. People need to be reminded. Things need to be said, in my opinion. I appreciate y'all very much for spending some time with me. I am going to come on here a little bit later. I have some other things. I don't know if I got my computer fixed or unrestricted or what, but it don't matter. I feel like having a few lives today. So thank you to my mods. I thank you to everyone. Like, share, subscribe. Those are all free. And let's keep growing our community. And let's keep getting these stories out. And let's keep a watch on this. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I love you all. I will see you in the streets. YouTube streets, that is. And remember, truth, respect, and a little bit of smiley.